The ceasefire between Hamas and Israel came into effect today. So what is the modality of this ceasefire? What are the conditions of this ceasefire? Well, the most important part of this ceasefire is the release of Israeli hostages. 50 Israeli hostages, that is the deal. Now, in exchange of them, 150 Palestinian prisoners lodged in Israeli jails are being released. The names of 300 of those who could be released was circulated, published by Justice Department in Israel, so that any citizen who had any problem with any of the names could go to Supreme Court and ask for them not to be released. At least 2 petitions were filed against the release of some of the Palestinian prisoners, but those appeals were struck down. Now, what are the modalities of the hostages who would be released by Hamas? Hamas would be handing over these hostages, 13 in first batch, women and children. They would be handing them over to Red Cross in Gaza Strip itself, Red Cross, an international organization. They would be handed over to them. From there, they'll be taken to Rafah border, where they would be handed over to IDF. Now, from there, IDF officials would be waiting on the Egyptian side. The hostages will then be taken to Al Arish airport. It is a 1-hour drive from Rafah border, and they would be flown on a private jet to Hadzerim base in Israel. Now, when they reach there, once they are there, all these 13 hostages who are being released today, they will undergo a health examination. So they will be sent to one of the 6 Israeli hospitals, that is Soroka Medical Center, Sheba Medical Center, Wolfson Medical Center, Ishilov Hospital, Shamir Medical Center, or Schneider Children's Medical Center. Now, medical staff from Health Ministry will determine where they will be going, where each released hostage would go. Mothers and children will not be separated. That has already been decided, and the close family members of the hostages have already been notified, and they will be informed which hospitals they are being taken to, and they will be reunited there. Now, they will not be going in the general wing of the hospital, but there would be a separate place for them. The hostages who would be released, for them there would be a separate place in the Israeli hospital, so that they can have privacy. They would not be mingling with others. All medical evaluations will also be done in the same area. So they will have to see whether the children are showing any signs of trauma, the medical, the counseling, the psychological counseling. All the experts have been brought in, and they have experience in past trauma experiences, and they would be there. Now, one important part is, once the medical evaluations are done, only then the adults would be debriefed by the military, because that is also a very important part of the hostage crisis. So these adults, once their medical evaluation is done, they will be debriefed by the military. Children will be given some time, because of course they are children, and how they process the whole situation is quite difficult to say. First of all, a soldier would be assigned to each hostage, who would be reassuring these hostages that now they are safe and they are being safely taken to Israel, and they would be safe there. So that safety factor is a very important factor. One thing which has been decided is, media will not be permitted to interact with the hostages. They will not have any access to the hostages as well as their families. Now, this is also because one of the earlier hostages who was released, a woman who was released earlier, after that experience, it has been decided. Also because being there in Gaza as a hostage has been definitely has been a very traumatic experience. So this will also be done. So medical files of the hostages would be released only to the hospital they are going to, because they will be assigned different hospitals. The families would be assigned different hospitals. So medical records will be released only to those hospitals, and these medical records are confidential, and all that is possible will be done to make them feel safe. Now, that is one of the most important factors which will come into play. And over the 4 days of this ceasefire, the number of Israeli hostages released from Gaza by Hamas is 50, and if they decide to release 10 more hostages, there would be 1 more day of pause. So this is how it would go about.